U.S. monetary policymakers have decided to maintain their interest rates at current levels for the time being. But anticipation for future rate cuts has pushed up all three major U.S. stock indices to an all-time high. Our financial correspondent Lee Soo-jin has more.
U.S. Federal Reserve officials kept rates unchanged for the fifth consecutive time on Wednesday, following the second two-day Federal Open Market Committee meeting this year. With this latest move, the benchmark interest rates in the U.S. continue to stand in the range of 5.25% to 5.5%. And the key interest rate gap between South Korea and the U.S. remains at 2 percentage points, as the Bank of Korea also froze its rates for the ninth consecutive meeting in February. The U.S. Fed's decision to once again freeze interest rates, along with South Korea's consumer prices once again entering 3% territory last month, is increasing the likelihood of the Bank of Korea also keeping rates steady at the current rate of 3.5% at next month's decision rate meeting. There has been much speculation about when the Fed will begin cutting interest rates, with observers forecasting that rate cuts will come in the second half of the year. Following this latest meeting, policymakers forecast that 3 rate cuts will come by the end of the year, consistent with earlier forecasts and supported by the Fed chairman's comments.
We believe that our policy rate is likely at its peak for this tightening cycle, and that, if the economy evolves broadly as expected, it will likely be appropriate to begin dialing back policy restraint at some point this year.
This outlook was met with enthusiasm, with U.S. stocks closing at an all-time high. The benchmark S&P 500 gained 0.89% compared to the previous close, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq jumped by 1.25%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose by 1.03%. It's the first time since November 2021 that all 3 major indices have hit all-time closing records. And during Thursday's emergency macroeconomic meeting in South Korea, attended by the country's key economic leaders to discuss the potential impact of the U.S. Fed's rate freeze, Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok said that there is growing uncertainty about the timing of rate cuts in other countries, especially with the Bank of Japan's decision earlier this week to raise interest rates for the first time in 17 years. Lee Soo-jin, 아리랑뉴스.